Hi, my name is Xin An, and for the extra credit assignment, I went to the Tech Talks Let's Talk Science. So, in communicating science, one is truly pleasurable in that science is actually really fun to talk about. And two, it gives a step on future progress in an efficient way. So, by talking about science and discussing it in a forum, we actually pave the way to more innovative solutions. And number three, it's our duty to help society to help value science just because science is so necessary in all aspects of life. So the way that the Tech Talk works was that there were numerous speakers who spoke on different topics of science and why they're relevant to society today. The first speaker who spoke was Zev Greenberg, who talked about science, society, and humanity. So why does society need science? Greenberg says that in Latin, science means to know. Some examples of this are Einstein's theory of relativity, which actually had no use back then, but is now crucial to things like satellite data, and all sorts of physics that we use and we learn in class today. Also, Michael Faraday, he was responsible for Faraday's law. And so, unlike animals, we as humans can discover and apply these discoveries to any aspect of our life today. And so science is as necessary as a limb or joint. And, just going off of this metaphor, science has progressed to the point in which we can actually have artificial limbs, just to help and make life more comfortable and more easier. So, just going with that topic, life or science is a necessary component to life. The next topic was given by Natalie Schloter and how thinking gets you pregnant. So, Schloter says that older than five, married, and thinking about babies. So, to know why and how things grow the way they do, we have to think about babies. And so, one example that she uses is the theory of spontaneous generation, which is from the 1600s, that says that flies come out of decaying flesh or meat or mud. So, a kind of like an updated analysis is that this theory gives us the origins of maggots. And what's great about this is that it's a foundation that lets us explore our natural world and how we came to be. She also talks about a lot of the misconceptions in science, and how we've progressed past them. For example, we thought 500 years ago that the Earth was the center of the solar system, and it was a really common belief. But now we clearly know that that is definitely not the case. So a quote that Schloter says is that without science, we would be 5-year old thinking about where babies came from. So the next topic in the series was by Nikki Selby. And so Nikki Selby talks about biomania. And pretty much in the PowerPoint, it says the spoon and the beak. He talks about how we use science to create tools that can be comparable to a lot of things in nature. So, for the example that he uses, is that the spoon that we use to the spoon in a bowl is similar to a bird's beak in collecting food. So a lot of this is based on natural science. For example, he also talks about Bernoulli's principle and how it relates to the adaptation of the airplane, adaptation and creation of the airplane wing. So from this, we know that science saves money as well as the planet. I thought this was actually really interesting. I really enjoyed his talk just because it never really occurred to me that a lot of the tools that we have developed because of science is related to a lot of things that we see in nature, a lot of um, progression based on nature. So the next topic was from Mahdi Al Husseini, who talks about cold beers and engineers. So he asked the question, what is the impact of science on our society? And he says that cold beers, which is an example, is what it's a type of engineering and science that makes our beer cold, which is actually really pleasant because a lot of people enjoy cold beers. No one really likes hot beers. So he says, what is engineering? And engineering essentially is making life easier and making life more comfortable. So, for example, he says that the most useful biomedical engineering invention is actually the Q-tip because it's easy to use, it's very accessible. You can buy it at any department store. It's probably very cheap to manufacture, and it just makes our life significantly better. So, in conclusion, what he says is that engineering is all about making life easier. The next speaker is Tessa Solomon Lane, and she says why society needs the science it doesn't think it needs. So science is taking the unknown and making it known, essentially. So she uses an example of the blue-banded goby, which is a highly social fish that lives in social groups. And so the 2 points that I got from this was that one, living in social groups is hard. It's very competitive. There's a lot of turmoil, war, and this is really comparable to the way that we live our lifestyles. Because just for example, at Georgia Tech, we function in social groups, and in a lot of classes, we compete against other students for higher GPAs and for higher grades just to beat the curve on an exam. And the second point from this Blue Band and Gobi example is that some people do it better than others. Some people are more accustomed to that really driving competitive workplace, and some people aren't. So it's all about adaptation. And the final speaker was Dr. Kressler, who spoke about wrapping your brain around the many miracles of the microelectronics revolution. I thought this talk was very interesting because he talks about why does society need science, and he says that the reason for this is because scientists and engineers create technology. Technology is reshaping our planet and us. And number three, as its creators, we are the one best positioned to drive the conversation on how technology is optimally utilized to benefit global society. One example of this is the transistor, which is a really tiny, very fast on and off switch that has a binary 1 or 0, so off or on. And so he talks about how the cell phone is the most sophisticated by unit per volume thing ever created because it links essentially everyone to each other. And the magic of cell phone works in the microelectronics or nanotechnology. So just going off on the transistor again, he talks about our digital world. And so in 2004, he talks about how one transistor was only 0.10 microns wide, and the size of transistors was the wavelength of visible light was 4.4 to zero point 0.7 microns, and that 4 transistors could actually fit inside one wavelength of blue light. He then proceeds to talk about the speed of transistors. The transistor can switch from a logical 1 into a logical 0, 1 being on and 0 being off, in about 10 picoseconds, which is absolutely crazy. So he talks about how fast science has progressed. I really enjoyed the lecture. Overall, I thought that these presentations were very useful in helping students think about why science is so significant in our lifestyles today. Thank you very much.